Hey guys, this is Danny Boy, and this is Servant Entrance on Nightmare. Again, 5 skulls. It's the whole point of this series, really. Servant Entrance was really easy, actually. Not a problem at all. One-shot it, got 5 skulls. Basically used the exact same strategy used on War Mage, even. It doesn't really change substantially, you just have more enemies and more powerful enemies, but in terms of strategy, it's really the same. And let's see, yeah, I'm going to set up a healing well just in case, though I do have a rift now, so I don't actually really need healing wells anymore, but they do heal a lot faster than rifts. You have this whole huge area to work with. You have one gate farther back, a bunch of runners right now, and then one gate closer. There's a bunch of gnolls as well. Using Firewall. I'm not using Ice this time around, I'm using Mana Rage. I have a Scavenger Trinket because I'm not using Coin Forges, a Reset Trap Trinket, along with Tar Traps, Arrow Wall Traps, Scorcher Traps, Haymakers, really important for this one. You have some really nice low ceilings to put Haymakers on. Really help you out a lot. As I already said, a healing well, and of course, using the blunderbuss. I always use the blunderbuss. Very few instances where I haven't used it. I did switch out for the crossbow once, but was definitely disappointed, so done with that. But there are a few different strategies you can employ for this one. There's a bunch of low ceilings, really large areas for floor traps, lots of walls. You can make use of this area right here and kill them closer to their spawn. What I did was use this area over here. I also used the opposite area I was just in with another low ceiling, put Haymakers there. I put a bunch of arrow traps down in this entryway with all these stairs. And there's a low area behind me with some walls. It's actually a really good kill zone. You could put a Coin Forge there. I believe I did that on War Mage to an extent, but I didn't really want to use it. I wanted to kill them quickly, and that's just a longer distance for them to walk, and it wasn't really necessary. The one issue with using this forward position is you are really close to them. It does give you a high ground advantage, but it's easier just to get shot. All in all, the low ground is a lot safer. You can duck out easier. This is very exposed, but it really wasn't a problem overall. So I kind of just hung out up there, just shot down from my high ground, ran back periodically to heal, like right there. Placed first a bunch of Haymakers up here, along with the Scorch Traps, the Tar Traps, and some Arrow Traps. That's my first little safe zone. I'll eventually expand further down these stairs and place a bunch of more Arrow Traps and more Scorchers, and generally just expand, but cost was not really that prohibitive. On this map, it really wasn't a problem. As long as I had the Scavenger Trinket. I don't know if things would have been a lot worse without the Scavenger Trinket. I assume it would have been a bit worse. Hopefully it does make somewhat of a significant difference. I tried to use the on-use of the Scavenger Trinket as much as possible to get extra money. But I could have used Coin Forges as well. The healing well wasn't strictly necessary. I did have a rift, but it helped to just keep me healthy and just able to jump in and out of combat really quickly. Rifts heal a lot slower than healing walls. But I could have probably swapped that out ultimately. But yeah, it's a single rift, 2 entrance map, and you have some natural choke points, and they work really well. So it really just wasn't too difficult. I feel like the hardest levels to do solo are definitely some of the last. Crunch, and upstairs, downstairs, and the other ones that I'm forgetting. Twisted Halls wasn't too ridiculous on War Mage. I don't know what it's going to be like on Nightmare. I assume it's going to be pretty hard, since you basically have to be at 2 places at once. But starting to place arrows over there, I should have probably just saved up for Haymakers over there and placed those there first. Probably would have been better. But there's really not a lot more to say. That's kind of why I was doing this live, because I can discuss the strategy for a while, but eventually it's just, that's what I did, and now you'll watch me do it, essentially. There's not a lot more to say. But I need to keep talking, or else I won't be able to monetize this video, so so here comes some runners. The Scorch Traps did a good job of dealing with the runners. I used to really like to use Brimstone Traps to deal with runners and fast enemies and what have you, but Scorch Traps and Tar Traps actually do work really well for that purpose, and the Scorch Traps don't have the long rearming time that Brimstone Traps do when they're on cooldown, though they do have to just fire and then rearm, fire and then rearm. But it doesn't seem to be as bad overall, especially when you have a lot of them, plus they're large AoEs, and so on and so on. But this is only a 9-round one, just 9 waves, not 12, not too ridiculous. It's funny that they kind of balance Nightmare as well by just giving you significantly less rift points, but for me it doesn't really matter, because if I lose any, I lose 5 skulls, and that's all I actually care about, so you could give me 1 rift point and it would really be all the same. Though I suppose it's better for people that have a harder time getting 5 skulls, because then at least they can beat it and hone their strategy and whatever. There's a small low-hanging ceiling on my right. You can fit 2 Haymaker traps there. I would say it's definitely worth putting a couple Haymakers there because they do approach along that right-hand wall. You could have used other traps for this. You probably could have used grinders to an extent, barricades to an extent to funnel them along one side rather than covering this entire arch and stairway. I'm not saying this is the best strategy, but it definitely worked and I didn't have a problem. I didn't have a problem with par, with dying really, and the only real issue was just kind of staying alive because I did take damage occasionally because you have a blind spot where Nulls will run up to you and just hit you once, and the crossbowmen can get shots on you really easily from the left side as well. Won't be as big of a deal once they have that area totally covered with Haymakers. I will say the waves were very large. It is easy to get overwhelmed if you made poor trap choices or you're having problems with cost. The number one thing I would say, I would stress, is just Haymakers. They make this a lot easier. I definitely should have placed Haymakers earlier on that side. That was my mistake. It didn't matter in the long run, but... And I suppose you could use Swinging Maces, but Swinging Maces just seem to be a poor man's Haymaker, because you get essentially 3 tiles for 1,500 versus 3 tiles for 2,100, or 4 tiles for 2,800 for Haymakers. So it's just kind of a cheaper alternative, but the Haymakers arm really quickly. They act as pseudo walls. They knock enemies into the lava, into environmental damage. They can stun heavier enemies, especially if you have a bunch of them, because heavy enemies will be hit by more than 1 Haymaker at the time. So, really, really good trap. Definitely borderline overpowered, but then again, I mean, it's a single-player game. They balanced around you using Haymakers, therefore it's kind of hard to say something's overpowered. I would say it's overpowered if you're best off just only ever using Haymakers all the time, at the exclusion of basically all other traps. Though I suppose as far as ceiling traps goes, I really don't ever see a reason to use Shock Zappers, even for flyers really, because I generally deal with those myself, or Swinging Maces. I haven't actually used the... oh, what are they called? The smushers? The ceiling traps that... the pounders, that's what they're called. Pounders. I haven't really seen the need to use pounders. They weren't very good in the previous game as far as I was concerned. Swinging Maces seem to be a lot better. But maybe I should try them one of these days. In this game, maybe they're better. But never really that's right, saw reason to use them rather than the Haymakers. Haymakers are just really, really good. Plus, they're new, they're fun. Have a lot of advantages. Not super expensive. Cover a good area. I mean, it's 1 tile, but they block an area. Oh, you could also definitely put dwarves on this center column, or archers, though dwarves will probably tend to eventually get killed by crossbowmen because they can't heal themselves, I don't think. You can't upgrade them for self-healing. Archers will fare a little bit better, but not really necessary. But you could. You could also just stand up there if you needed to. It's very easy to get there. So we're on Wave 7 yet again. It seems like I always hop back into the action at Wave 7. I definitely should have activated my scavenger trinket, but I didn't for some reason. I probably wasn't really thinking about it because I really had the area well under control at this point. Wasn't really worried. You kind of just eventually reach this critical mass of traps where they'll just take care of basically everything, barring the occasional shotgun or grenade or whatever. I would really like to use the sorceress at some point. I would really like to try out the wand. Would love to try out the acid traps. I love acid in this game. I use the alchemist satchel all the time in the previous game. I would use it in this one, but I just can't fit it into a build. You seem to be a lot tighter on traps in this game than you were in the previous game. I will more than likely be playing the sorceress in my co-op content, which will come hopefully soon, maybe tomorrow a little bit. We will see. One of my friends' motherboards was just fried in a lightning storm, so that's not fun. Network adapter was killed. Apparently, a surge came up through the Ethernet cable because everything else was hooked up to a surge bar and blew up his network adapter, so we can't hook up to the internet anymore, which is kind of a problem, so we need to shell out $100 for a new motherboard. That sucks. Definitely be playing with him at some point. And probably another one of my friends, hopefully another one of my friends. So, not really a lot more to say. It's really just... One thing I will say is, you'll eventually get to the point where it's like, why am I even bothering setting up more traps? Why do I even care? Just sit on lots of money. And I do that sometimes too, but you really should just keep putting out more and more traps, because the final waves are generally pretty nasty. Lots and lots of enemies, lots of heavy enemies, so more traps is definitely always useful. So, you know, like right now, I should be placing even more Scorchers, more arrow walls, and I will eventually, once I have a little bit of breathing room. You really want your traps to kill as many enemies as possible anyway, because trap kills are worth a lot more in terms of score than just combat kills, i.e. my blunderbuss and grenade kills, if you actually care about score. So I think I'm going to finally, yeah. I should have filled out that area with haymakers way long ago, but didn't matter. Wasn't a problem. I realized that at the time, too. I just wasn't really thinking about it. So heavy ogres are coming. Pretty nasty, actually. They were nasty in the previous game as well. I've started facing mountain trolls in the levels past this. I am farther than this now. They're not too bad. I faced them in Endless once. I played one thing of Endless for some extra skulls, because I wanted something. Rather, not one round, but just, you know, Endless once. I think I got into the 20s and then kind of crapped out. I'll be doing Endless eventually as well. I think. I don't know if I'm going to do many, though, because just by design, they're very, very long. I'll probably do them live, if anything. There's no way I'm going to be able to talk through an Endless match for like 30 minutes and, you know, just have things to say the entire time. So, this is basically it, guys. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more. Please like the video if you liked it. Please sub if you'd like to see more. Leave comments and feedback. Ask questions, I'll get back to you. And there we go. 5 skulls, 1 shot, 1 kill. Was not hard. This was servant entrance, again. 247,000. Not bad, not amazing or anything, but good enough for me, don't really care. Par was a little tighter on that one, but didn't really have a problem even taking that more of a rear position rather than a forward position, because I wanted that choke point. Alright guys, have a good one.